All right. I think we're
Hey,
gone.
cool.
Okay. I don't know. Could you hear that intro? I couldn't even hear that music. I don't know why it wasn't. That's
No,
kind of
I
weird.
heard it.
Oh, you heard it?
Yeah,
That's weird. I wonder
yeah,
why
I
I
did.
couldn't hear it. Yeah, this damn thing really does have a mind of its own. I don't know why. But all right, Dan. So it's May 31st. On May 30th, Donald Trump was found guilty on 34 counts of nobody knows what.
Right.
Is that a
What,
fair
what
way to say
you know
it?
what about that is they call it hush money or an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Everybody who's accusing him, all the people who are against him, all these powerful, rich politicians and other people, they all have NDAs. They all
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah.
They'll have sex with a prostitute, affairs, whatever, and then they pay people off and get them to sign an NDA. That's why they sign it, because they get paid,
Yep.
and they all have NDAs, and this is no different. So it's bad. It's bad in the sense that um, they're. I mean, imagine the insanity of convicting a president of the United States. Like, it's never happened before. Meanwhile, you got a president of the United States that's completely corrupt and can't finish a sentence or find his way off stage.
Yeah.
And that's the world we live in. And there's people who will still support that, right? But the good part about this is honestly, I think at the end of the day, this only makes Trump stronger. Um, it makes him a martyr, and it not on in even when you remove Trump from it, it shows the American people that were in doubt about this, that the government's obviously corrupt. And I mean, yeah, it's so Trump aside, the American people are gonna, for the most part, be like, what the fuck is going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're gonna have a lot of problems with this.
Yeah, I tuned into MSNBC a little bit after the verdict just to see what the how they're talking about, see how
They
happy they are.
Dreamers pop in. Are you guys really proud of yourselves that you created a government where you have a president who can't finish a sentence, can't find his way off stage, has taken millions from our enemies, and that's been proven in Congress? Meanwhile, you indicted and convicted a president of the United States who did nothing that any of the others don't do. Are you guys really, really proud of that? Because you know where this leads, to dictatorship,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And if you guys are really proud that you're destroying freedom, stripping freedom from the United States of America, then enjoy the party while it lasts, because it won't last long if it maintains this way. But I have a
Well,
feeling there's going to be a pushback real hard from the people, because I think even if you're an ardent, adamant supporter of Biden, and you adamantly hate Trump, I think deep down those people, they're a little ashamed at this point. They might not want to admit it, but deep down, I think they're a little bit ashamed of what's going on with this, because it's gone way too far.
well,
So
that's why I tuned into MSNBC to see how much they're gloating and how they're justifying it. And nah, man, they're completely delusional on that channel. At least, one of the commentators, Chris Hayes, I think it was, he kind of mentioned something that was interesting. That they kind of know that most people don't watch politics, so they were kind of saying, yeah, we know a lot of people don't watch this. The people that do, but the people and the way he gloated was that next week, people are going to see a headline that Donald Trump was found guilty on 34 charges, and that's pretty much basically he's saying that's pretty much all we need. As long as they get the headline for these people that don't pay attention, that's pretty much all we need. So they kind of know the game, as long as they get the headline, it doesn't matter the justification. It doesn't matter the details, like because they know themselves. Nobody's really, not the majority of the country doesn't really pay attention. So that's kind of, and the other things, the other commentators, yeah, they're just. I don't know if you heard Jill Biden too was saying this, that Joe Biden is a defender of democracy and the rule of law, and they're literally saying that. I'm like, what the hell? Like, you guys are just completely insane, man. Like, Joe Biden was saying that on The View. Oh, and the way she said it too, like, oh yeah, people need to see how smart Joe is, and Donald Trump, and I guess one of the other hosts said it, like, Donald Trump can't even put two sentences together, like, so
Well, that's
they just
that's
completely
their
flip it around and just use it and just run with it. It's pretty freaking crazy, man.
and that's their MO. Everything that they are, they project onto their political opponent.
Yeah, for
Can't
sure.
finish that. Biden can't finish a sentence, and we see it all the time for years now.
Yeah.
Right? Trump can finish sentences, and we see that all the time. Defender of democracy. Biden is the defender of tyranny. He's going there. They're all about tyranny and dictatorship. Trump is the defender of democracy. So whatever they accuse the others of is what they actually are, and that's been their playbook. Trump's in collusion with Russia. Biden took money from Russia. This has been proved from the mayor of Russia, or the mayor of Russia, and an oligarch in Russia. This was in congressional hearings. This is out there, but the news isn't going to tell you. But he took millions from them. He took millions from Ukraine. He took millions from China and Romania. He took hundreds of thousands from Romania.
Well, no, there's actually a credible witness. He was actually, I want to say, an ex-Navy SEAL. He was a Navy SEAL, the Bobulinski guy. I don't know if you know that guy. He testified in Congress, and he was completely credible. Had a complete, like, a play-by-play of everything that that you witnessed Joe Biden do. It got no headlines. Congress, the Democrats shut him down, and to this day, like, nothing came of it. But he says he's witnessed firsthand of Biden's corruption. He was a partner with Hunter Biden, and
the evidence for him taking millions and all this money from the countries I listed has been proven in Congress. Not a debate, right? This is laid out. The Bidens have set up shell companies, and they have like multiple shell. I think it's like 34. And so what they do is they'll take money, payouts from China and Russia and Ukraine, and then they filter that through these different companies, and then they start divvying it out to the different Biden family members over time.
Yeah.
And you think about Ukraine, like, the defenders of Biden, listen up. We are in a war with Ukraine, or siding with Ukraine, because the Bidens have taken, because Joe Biden's son worked for Burisma. He got millions of dollars to work for an energy company. He had no education in the field, no experience, never worked in the field, didn't do any education in the field, and got put on the board of Burisma, got paid millions of dollars. And then they were being investigated, that company, by a prosecutor in Ukraine, and Biden withheld, I think it's $500 million in foreign aid as vice president, until they fired the prosecutor investigating his son's company's corruption. And you even have out there the people who worked at the company, who were on the board as well, and the CEO, and they were talking in I guess private conversations, but they're recorded, and so you can listen to these, and they're talking about how stupid Hunter Biden is, right? They didn't even want him, but it was a political move. So now the Bidens have corrupted themselves with Ukraine, and now if we don't send billions of dollars of taxpayer funded your money in weapons and sanctions and aids and all this stuff, then the Ukrainians are going to expose the Bidens on a scale that's outside of our United States Congress, so the whole world could see it. So the Bidens, it's ironic that Trump's in collusion with Russia when they're in collusion with Ukraine, and we're in a war because of it. Yeah. Or we're not actually in the war, but we're funding the war. Your money, go to work, pay your taxes so they can give it to Ukraine, so the Ukraine can give it to the Bidens, and then go vote for Biden. And this has all been established in Congress. The records are there, right?
See, but I guess that's what I'm saying about just kind of like the media. You know, the fact that MSNBC and all the major publications, they have so much damn power, even though like everybody knows that they're just a bunch of liars and they're biased, completely biased. The fact that they're not the ones talking about it means that it's not a big deal. Like, I just don't.
Well, let me ask you this. If you went to Russia or North Korea or China, would you turn on the news and expect to get the truth?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's ironic because we expect to get the truth from our news. We aren't any different than those countries. It's a
Yeah.
facade that we're not, that we're different. Our news is nothing more than state-run propaganda.
But wouldn't you say
Oh,
if they
like,
did,
dude, are you
they basically
surprised?
have the power? You know what I mean? So I guess why
Well,
make a big deal about changing up the media and the fairness doctrine and all that. But okay, I'll go ahead.
I don't know how you're gonna do that because the media is tied to the government. The government is tied to the corporations and the billionaires, and they're all working together. So it's not like the media is doing their thing, the government's doing their thing, and the corporations are doing their thing, and they're all just doing this independently. No, they're all working together. The media has its marching orders,
Yeah.
and they're getting paid lots of money. And then a big player in this is BlackRock Investments. BlackRock Investment CEO, this is the biggest investment company in the world. He came out and said, we are going to have to force behavior change. And it's behavior change to a dictatorship. He didn't
Oh yeah.
say that, but that's what it means, because he'll fund media that pushes the propaganda towards a
Yeah.
dictatorship. And if you don't, they won't fund you. Same as companies, they'll fund the companies who want to put transgender stuff all over the store and all these things, and they won't fund you if you don't follow their politics. That's why you got companies saying weird stuff and doing weird things, because they're getting paid to do it. The NFL with end racism. NFL doesn't care about racism, but they're getting paid to do it. And if they didn't, they would actually get attacked
Yeah.
and by the media, because now BlackRock's going to fund the media and tell them attack the NFL because the NFL is racist,
Yeah.
right? So they make this impossible situation for people, and it's all comes back to money.
As far as Hunter Biden, I really think this guy was just meant to be like a front for Joe Biden. I think he was just supposed to be like a physical body that's there representing Joe Biden and his family, the interests. I don't think they hired him at all for sure for his intelligence and his insight and all that stuff like that. And I really think, honestly, I'll make a prediction, man, that after Joe Biden passes, the CIA is going to get rid of Hunter, man. I think Hunter's been the biggest pain in their ass for us since, since a laptop, since 2019 at least. All this shenanigans, all that stuff, man. But yeah, I'm pretty
Imagine
sure.
he hasn't been convicted of anything yet. He's on tape multiple times smoking crack. He didn't pay $1 million in taxes. The DOJ let the statute of limitations run out on purpose. He was transporting sex prostitutes across state lines, which is a federal offense. And they have in Congress they put out the airplane records of the prostitute leaving, I think, California to Washington D.C. And the flight back. Pictures of them together in the hotel, and the payment that he made to her. Right?
Jesus.
He
Yeah,
has
I didn't
gun
know all those
charges,
details.
all these crimes, and then this should illustrate that your government is corrupt. You got so many crimes against the Bidens that have been proven. It's not even a question of whether they committed them. And the DOJ, the Attorney General, the CIA, and FBI are doing nothing about it because they're in on it.
Yeah. I think I brought it up last episode. Yeah, that they're protecting them. I guess they try to look into something regarding the IRS, and the CIA blocked it. The CIA blocked any investigation into something to do with Hunter Biden. So there's a couple of guys. I think Mike Benz on Twitter. Yeah, they're saying that basically Ukraine is a big deal. Ukraine is like some sort of strategy, some sort of long game that they're playing, and it involves Ukraine. And I got me thinking of is it Victoria Nuland? Is it the one that Secretary of State was? Is that what she was?
Oh,
Victoria
I don't know.
Nuland.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, she's Secretary of State. She just retired or just resigned or something. I don't know. But they called her the architect of the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, and now Ukraine. But she's in the Ukraine right now. She was basically part of that. She was part of the Biden administration, and she's over there obviously for some reason. She must be doing something. So I think there's some sort of long game that they're playing that involves Ukraine and obviously Russia, but who the hell knows what they're up to, man? But it's just so many
Well,
so many different pieces to this that it's just hard to figure out.
we don't have a lot of the information, so it is hard to figure out. But I have a theory on the Ukraine thing, and that is in the Afghanistan kind of bites that too. Is they left a lot of weapons in Afghanistan that they shouldn't have. It's ridiculous. And then on top of that, now the Biden corruption is part of the Ukraine thing because they have to help the Ukraine because they're compromised. But also, we're sending over M1A1 Abrams tanks, F-15 jet fighters, like really not state of the art, but damn near. And Germany sent state of the art tanks over there. And so I'm almost thinking that this is for the coming World War. Now, this is just speculation on my part, that you'll get the arms and everything. A lot of so when it does pop off, when they decide to go, they already have a lot of the equipment they need in place, and they probably figure, hey, we're going to have to go after countries like Russia to create a one world government because Russia's not going to give in. So that might be it. But I'm not sure. I'm really not exactly sure what's going on with that. It gets real confusing. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that's my. I'm not. I wouldn't say I would have a really strong opinion that's what's happening, but I think it's a real possibility that, because I know the ultimate goal right now with all that's going on is a one world government. That is what they are going for. That's not even a question to me. But how they're so I think they're setting pieces up to, they're playing the long game. This is over years and years that they've been doing this, and they're trying to put the pieces in place to facilitate the one world government. And in order to do that, there's going to be some places you're going to have to fight. There's going to have to be some war because some countries are going to fight. They're not going to give in to this stuff. Like Poland. Poland isn't going for it. You will have to conquer Poland if you want a one world government. They aren't doing it. And Russia is probably the same way. China, I'm not sure about. I'm not sure which way they'll swing on that. They might. They're pretty crafty. They might be like, yeah, we're on board with this one world government, and as long as we get enough power. So I don't know.
As far as China, I think them being willing to comply with the New World Order, whatever they want to do. I think the system they have in China is the system the New World Order wants everywhere. They want that whole social credit system. It's like perfect. It's everybody already has their cell phones, and now they just have to apply a system in which your money is digital, and therefore that's it. That's how they trap you, and you're basically screwed.
Right, I agree with that. That's why I say China's a little more crafty. So I think they would play this different than Russia. But Russia is so prideful that they're going to be like, nope, it's not happening. Russia's staying sovereign, and so that's probably a big reason for the Ukrainian war.
Victoria Nuland. She was head of the Department of State. So she's doing something in Ukraine right now, man. Some shit business going on over there right now. But yeah, so I guess it all comes back to maybe all that explains exactly why the hell they're going that far with the. Well, I guess that's your point. That's part of why they're going so far with Trump. That they're willing to just be blatantly anti-democratic and just throw away all the principles and values of the United States in order to get one guy off the presidential race. And damn, yeah. So yesterday when I saw that, man, I was so mad I couldn't believe it, man. Like even my girl said, man, I feel like crying.
Let me give 2 points on that. So first off, what would happen to a political opponent in Russia if he was looked like he actually would win an election there? What would Putin do?
Yeah, no, yeah.
He would do exactly what we did here. We're going to throw him in jail, right? Or kill him, or both. Throw him in jail and kill him. And then the other point is I didn't feel, I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, there was 2 outcomes possible here for this jury. It was either a hung jury or a conviction. Not guilty is not an option. The jury was rigged. I mean, they were asking them, "Hey, did you support Trump?" And asking if you support Biden. And they gave him time off after the trial was over. They gave him like I don't know if several days or a week off. And at that point, my suspicion tells me that the CIA and FBI went to work. And these juries are supposed to be anonymous, but they know who they are. They're going to find out one way or the other, and they're going to go either bribe them, intimidate them, blackmail them. You know what I mean? You're going to come back guilty. Now, you might have had somebody who said, "Fuck that! I'm going to go down. I'm going to go out on my sword, and I'm not doing it." And I thought that was a possibility, but once they said they reached a verdict, I already knew it was guilty. And I knew long before, when they first made indictments, they're gonna find him guilty, because the government is completely corrupt. You're not going to get a fair trial if you're a political opponent of the deep state and the one world order for dictatorship. That is what it is. And if there's people out there listening that don't think that's what's happening, then you just want to think that's not happening, but it is, and you're helping it. Right? There's not really much we can do anymore. It's
it feels like it, yeah.
Right. So it is somewhat of a helpless feeling, but they've made a martyr of Trump, right? So however this plays out, Trump is going down in history as a martyr. Like they made him bigger than life at this point. Like, this is gigantic. They made a huge mistake with this, but they still might get what they want. I don't know how it's going to play out, but they're not going to have the American people behind them, which means, there's going to be because some people are just so emotional or dumb that they're going to go, yeah, this is cool, man. I didn't like Trump, so I'm all for dictatorship. And they're going to say, no, he's for democracy. You got to be lying to yourself. You have to be, right? So, like I said, though, I wasn't surprised it was guilty. I would have been surprised, any other verdict would have been surprising to me, hung jury or innocent, because the government, they're going to stop Trump from getting elected. And now that this happened, he appeals it, and and the campaign goes on. And if he, they're gonna go to any lengths to keep him out of the office, because he is in the way of a one world order. He is really thwarting their plans. He's the biggest problem they've had with this one world order that's been going on for decades now, that they've been working tirelessly over generations now to get. And he's the one standing in the way. And so they're going to do everything up, including war. Like him getting elected, they aren't going to let it happen. Not without violence. I can't see it happening, because the government is just that far corrupt. We live in Russia. We live in China. It is the same thing. And people are like, we got to stop Putin. He's a dictator. You are voting for a dictator. Wake up.
I was going to mention earlier, you had said, the response from, the people is going to be big after yesterday's decision. His website crashed right after the verdict because so many people,
Yeah, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so many people went to try to donate, to him.
Well, he got like 35 million in one day.
Is that what happened yesterday?
Yeah, he got 34.5 million.
Holy shit! Yeah, so they're making him. Yeah, they're making him bigger than anything. So
people are behind Trump.
Yeah,
but the government doesn't care what the people want. You live in a republic, a democracy, a democratic republic, where the people are supposed to decide who their leaders are. And the government says, no, we decide who your leader is. Yeah. And so it's no different than Russia or China or Korea.
Man, I guess this puts this guy on a high pedestal, man. But don't you think it's almost like a miracle that Trump ran and did all this? Like, seriously, if he hadn't ran, Hillary obviously or Jeb Bush would have won. Might have been Hillary, but everything that happened would have happened a lot sooner. I think Ukraine-Russia war would have happened sooner. I think COVID would have been a lot worse than it was. They probably would have got rid of a lot more of us. She would have completely gave into that whole thing.
Happened.
Huh?
COVID might not have happened if Trump wasn't president.
They might have saved that one. Yeah, you're right. They might have saved that one for when they were
think
ready.
About it, like The economy was booming. Black unemployment was at an all-time low for the entire history of the United States, right? He was doing terrific things. The country was humming
Yeah.
perfectly along, doing
Yeah.
so good. So if you introduce COVID and you lock everybody down and you crash the economy, then you go, see, his economy was bad,
Yeah.
right?
You're right.
So I think it was, to make money and to undermine Trump's presidency. So if he
Yeah.
wasn't president, COVID probably wouldn't have happened. I think COVID was a tool to undermine the presidency. It
COVID.
didn't work because people still elected Trump, and then so they rigged the election. But
Uh.
this time, hey, well, I'm
But
not trying to rig the election. We're just trying to eliminate the competition.
no, not.
Period.
Nah, he was walking straight into a re-election for sure. So yeah, no, I've thought about that too. That they basically he forced them to use COVID. Like I think that COVID might have been one of their end games. That once all the pieces were in place, the pandemic worked out. I think exactly the way they wanted. The whole world basically fell for it and believed it. But now they played that card. They can't do it again. They can't do it again at all like the same way. So I think
Well,
Trump forced them to start using all their little tools ahead of time, which is still like a good thing, I guess. But yeah, just
think
if,
about this.
mhm,
So Trump becomes president. The economy is doing fantastic. Um, he's a racist. He doesn't like blacks and Mexicans, but yet he's helping all of them. He gave the HBCU, the historical black college university system. They had to come to the president every year to get new financing, and the president Trump told them, wait, why do you have to come every year? They're like, oh, that's just a system. He goes, no, you don't have to come every year. Now I'm just going to give it to you. You don't have to come back. You got it. Year after year, you're good. So it was humming along just great. Then COVID comes along and just messes the whole economy up. Then
yeah,
as soon as Trump's not president, oh, we're good. COVID's not a thing anymore,
hmm
right? Biden's president, oh, COVID's not a thing. But the economy is still screwed up because Biden, they don't care about the economy. They care about dictatorship. And a strong economy means a strong voice of the people. A strong voice of the people means they have a hard time controlling the people. They want to undermine your money. People worried about your guns, worry about your money. They're after your money. If you don't have no money, you have no power. You're dependent on the government. That's exactly where they want everybody. They want people rich or poor. Nobody in the middle. People in the middle are the big problem for a dictatorship. Dictatorships don't have a middle class. And so they're trying to eliminate that. That's like, well, let's raise the minimum wage because these people don't make enough. Now, you do have to have a minimum wage, but they're raising it pretty high.
yeah,
Yeah, like in California, $20 now, I think. So what they do is raise the minimum wage, and they know this game. And so the price of everything goes up. So the people making $20 an hour who were making 15 or 10 before, they still can't buy anything more than they bought before. They have no more buying power than they had at $10 or 15 because everything costs more. The rent costs more, gas costs more, products cost more. So they haven't helped them at all, but they took everybody who makes more than $20 an hour and brought them down because their stuff costs more too, but they don't make any more. And
yeah,
that is the goal. That's just one way they're rigging the economy to strip power from Americans, the middle class, so that the middle class is subservient to the government.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, um, yeah, you got to consider also the riots and all that stuff. All that stuff just stopped pretty much as soon as. Did you know the riots took place for exactly 1 year?
The
Just
riots happen every presidential election year, and they're paid protesters by the United States government,
well,
funded through companies.
well, the
So what they
ones
do,
during the last year of Trump's presidency, like yeah, they started. I forgot. I was looking it up the other day. It started on a certain date, and exactly 1 year later was the last one. Like it ended that day. Like after Trump had already lost the election, and
so Black Lives Mattered for 1 year, but
it,
then after that, it's cool.
yeah, it was like almost like they're just they're doing it on purpose to show like yep, we did this on
Well,
purpose and it
they
worked.
have that company in the United States called Crowds on Demand that started in 2012, and
Yeah,
this
no,
company, you go to their website, Crowds on Demand, it provides paid protesters. So what they do
wow,
is they pay protesters to go out, and they get it like $500 a day, the ones they hire, and then they take out, they bus them in, and they bring with them cash.
no,
And then when they're there, they'll get other people all emotional, people who aren't very knowledgeable and very gullible, and they get them out there, and they think that they're actually, you know, protesting something that's meaningful, but yet it's a government stage protest that's being paid for. And then they pay those people when they're there. They'll give them money, not all of them, but a lot of them. So they're paid protest by your own government to protest you.
Yeah. Shit.
I
Actually,
mean, how be a company that's legal that can pay people to go protest?
yeah.
The
The other
fact that you're
day,
even this company is around the whole country in all the major cities.
somebody really needs to do an investigation. How come nobody's done an investigation into that, like a show, like a bigger
People
show?
who would the people who would investigate it or would actually have any authority to do anything about it are also deep state corrupt people. So they're not
Nah,
going to do it. The FBI is going to protect these protesters and protect these companies who hire them. The companies hiring them are only in place to remove culpability from the government, right? So we run it through a corporation, run it through to this company, then to the protesters. So, you know, you put layers in there. Otherwise, the government would just take your tax dollars and directly give it to them. But then, you know, it's too obvious. So if anybody goes after these protesters or these companies who pay them, the FBI is going to come investigate you. They're not
well,
going to go investigate. They're going to come investigate you, right? So the whole system's locked down. If you go against the government, they're coming after you if you have any power in it.
I mean, I just think that's just one of their big tools that they have. You know what I mean? To try to justify everything, make everything seem like it's naturally occurring. But yeah, I'm thinking like, well, how come like Charlie Kirk or one of these Tim Pool or one of these guys don't do like a whole episode like talking about that? I haven't seen anybody do any sort of, you know, investigation into that, like into that whole thing. Everybody's always talked about the crisis actors, but nobody's ever really proved it 100%. You know what I mean? People say it just kind of like probably the information that you found out, but somebody needs to do a whole investigation into that.
Why they haven't done that? Those kind of people, I don't know. But I could say this: it's not a theory. There's an actual company that's nationwide, and it's in all the major cities in the United States, and they have a website, and you can go to there, and they'll say, "We'll pay you to go protest." And the people show up, and they're like, "What's the job today?" "Oh, it's abortion." "Well, what side am I on?"
Yeah.
They don't care. It's a job. $500 a day. You know, that's if you do 5 days a week, that's $2,500 a week. I mean, you're making a lot of money to go protest Americans. And the government is facilitating that. And you know they're facilitating it because it only happens when there's an election. And there will be more this year. They started off with the Palestinian Israeli ones, but that one kind of bit them in the ass because a lot of the Jewish people were pulling money from the universities. And so they're like, oh, we're going to back off of that. That one might prop back up, or they'll jump onto another one that doesn't cost them so much. But they're going to orchestrate more riots as long as Trump or anybody, it doesn't have to be Trump, anybody is in a position where they have the people behind them. They're going to go after that person and anything they stand for, and they're going to pay these protesters to do this because you know they arrest all these people on January 6th, but they don't arrest people who are breaking into police stations and city halls. They didn't even arrest the people during the pro-Palestinian protest that went into the United States Capitol and seized it and sat in there and you know took bases in there. Why isn't that an insurrection? Because they're on our side.
No.
So okay, but if you're politically aligned against us, you're an insurrectionist, go to prison for doing the same exact thing.
Yeah. The other day, Biden had a rally, and their press picture showed basically him like talking, like a video, and you see, I guess supposedly some of his followers behind him, like it was like a big, like a, basically they're all sitting down and they're it looked like a lot of people basically, and they're all holding Biden signs behind them. It looked like a Trump rally type of shot, you know what I mean, with people behind Trump, but it was Biden. Mm-hmm. But then somebody took a picture of where that video was taking place. It was an auditorium, and there was hardly anybody in front of Biden. All the whatever small amount of people, they're right behind Biden, but in front of Biden there was nobody. And so they took a kind of a screenshot of the people standing behind Biden. and you can see in their faces, man, that there's like zero enthusiasm, like for them even being there. For sure, these guys are just paid to just stand there and hold signs, just for the photo op, I guess, whatever. But
Or even if they were paid, so what? You know, you only get a handful of people.
yeah,
Trump can snap his finger and tens of thousands show up, but Biden got more votes than anybody in history. But the election was
yeah,
there. You deny it. No one will come to his events. He can't complete a sentence. He doesn't have any charisma. He's not a good candidate for president, period. Even before he ran, it was like, this guy? No, he's not a popular figure, yet he's the most popular ever according to the vote.
yeah.
It doesn't hold water.
What's it called? I was thinking about something too. Mike Lindell was on Tim Cast a couple days ago, and I guess so. His whole thing was that he badmouthed Dominion, the vote counting machines.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I was wondering about that. So Dominion has something to do with them rigging the election too. Like, so electronic. To me, it kind of explains like how they might do like anomalies with the numbers, basically push all up and inflate obviously Biden's number to get the most votes in American history. So it wasn't necessarily just people throwing out Trump votes and resubmitting Biden votes like 2 or 3 times, and that's how they come to the conclusion that there wasn't enough fraud for it to affect the election. That's what some of the people that even Trump put in charge of investigating, that's what their conclusion was too. But if Dominion has an electronic method of counting votes, they could do it almost like the way skimming works. You know what I mean? They could just add one here, add one there, and then just add it all over the country and increase it like over and over, and nobody could tell because it's so spread out and so kind of far-fetched that nobody could tell how that many votes were actually submitted. You know what I mean? So could it be also that Dominion's for sure is involved in all this nonsense?
I think there is a case on that one. I don't have smoke, but I would say you're probably right about that. I think there's multiple ways that they rig things, the elections, and that's one of them. But that night, it was very clear to me the main way they rigged it, their main thrust was in the swing states. If we're behind, we'll stop the voting, and then we'll use Democrat-controlled cities to stop the voting, and that's what happened. They didn't stop counting in Republican-held cities. They stopped counting in Democrat-held cities in swing states that night, when Trump was leading all of them.
Yeah.
Then the next morning, Trump lost all of them because they kept counting it.
That's kind of my question. So these swing states, wherever they stopped the counting, they've obviously won. I mean, did they win by a lot in those swing states when they finally announced how many votes?
Like a lot,
So that's
20,
what I'm saying. So the fact that Biden got the most votes, that means that the states that he won clearly, even those states had an abundant amount of votes for him, like an extra amount, so he won by a lot over Trump. So
exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. So yeah, so I guess for for the what the hell they call the electoral votes? What are they called?
Electoral college.
Yeah, what the hell they got to get in order to win 200 and something? What is it?
270.
270 what? What are they called?
Electoral college
votes. Yeah. So basically, by winning those states that shut down that night, yeah, he basically Biden won. But the fact that he got an overwhelming amount of votes throughout the whole country, doesn't that kind of signify that there was an extra amount of votes in every state, like way too many, that kind of don't even make sense.
Right.
Some
And
people say that more votes were cast than people registered to vote and shit. So I don't know.
Right.
To me,
And
I don't know if I'm explaining that word.
No, you are, and I think what you're saying did, and I agree, is that like the Dominion and the mail-in votes, they added votes one way or the other.
Yeah,
then,
even in states that Biden won clearly, they added even more votes just to kind of justify it to level it all out.
And they were going to do this from the beginning, and they figure, okay, this should be enough. But if it's not, and we're still in a hole, then we shut down swing states in Democrat-held cities. and then we
And that
changed
could be a
that state.
distraction. That could be a distraction. I mean, obviously, yeah, they rigged those, and those states would have made a big difference. But I mean, I
No,
think they
those states.
stole. I think they stole more
No, those.
states, and
Well, they probably did, but my point is like the other states were, even if they added votes to them, all it's going to do in a blue state is pad Biden's popular vote. In a red state, it probably wasn't going to swing Biden's way anyway, but it would still add votes to him. So you would have the popular vote getting bigger. But the problem you have is that electoral college vote. And
yeah,
so in the swing state, they could go either way electoral college wise. And
yeah,
so if you shut down Philadelphia, which they did, a Democrat held city in Pennsylvania, which is a swing state, which could go either to Trump or Biden electoral college wise,
yeah,
not popular vote. Then you change the popular vote in that state, and the popular vote now gives you the electoral college votes for that state to Biden instead of Trump, who actually won them. And you saw this on video in Georgia, I believe it was Atlanta, where they did that, and they kicked everybody out, and then they counted votes. They pulled votes from underneath the table that was hidden by a tablecloth, and they started running through the machine. Not only did they run them through a machine without observers there, which is a federal offense, they also you can watch them. They ran the same vote through multiple times. And when the DOJ looked into it, they said, well, they didn't do anything wrong. Counting votes without observers is illegal.
yeah,
That
that's
you
crazy.
can't do it. Kicked everybody out, said, we're going to stop the voting. Then as soon as the doors closed, they started counting with
Yeah,
only Democrats there. And then all of a sudden, Biden wins the state he was losing, gets enough electoral college votes to win. And a lot of people don't understand the popular vote and electoral college vote. And it's a brilliant system because people think, well, whoever gets the most votes should win. If that was the case, then politicians would ignore the smaller states, the least popular states like Oklahoma or Nebraska or whatever. They would ignore those states. They wouldn't get a whole lot of federal funding or attention. They would only go for Florida, New York, California, Texas, the big states with the populations, and they could just win the popular vote by winning the coast.
yeah,
And they don't need to worry about the middle of America. Now, the the more the more people you have, right, the more electoral college votes you do get. So you do get more votes because of the population, but it gives a voice to those who wouldn't otherwise have a voice, and that's called a republic democracy. Without that, you would be discriminated against a large part of the country who would have no say so in politics at all. So the electoral college vote was a brilliant idea, and I give it to the forefathers that came up with that. Really, really forward thinking on that.
yeah. Well, I guess yeah. I mean, so I guess I'm just trying to figure out how the hell he got 81 million votes, and to me, yeah, Dominion probably had something to do with it. But now the tricky thing, people are obviously going to be paying more attention to this upcoming election, and they're obviously able to, be able to see if somebody say, "Oh, we got to stop the count." Obviously, some shenanigans are going to happen, but if it's Dominion, that's hard. That's harder to see. But the way it's set up right now, with Dominion having sued Mike Lindell and anybody that badmouthed them and give them a bad reputation, it's going to be hard for people to say, "Oh no, we got to look into Dominion before the election." Make sure that they're doing everything fairly, because if anybody starts talking about Dominion, they're probably going to get sued right away. So, yeah, people need to figure out how. I guess I'm trying to figure out how the hell 81 million votes goes to Biden. That just doesn't make any damn sense, man.
Hey, he was more popular than Obama.
Yeah,
Imagine that. The great speaker, very articulate, versus the guy who can't complete a sentence or fill a room. That guy's the guy who got more votes.
yeah. So,
Amazing. But it wasn't real. I mean, it's laughable. If it wasn't such a nightmare for us because we're losing our freedoms, and they haven't stripped them like real hard yet, but that's coming. And then people who were on the side of this, like, yeah, fuck Trump, I'm going for Biden. When their freedoms get stripped away, they're going to be like, dude, I messed up, and it's like, it's too late.
yeah,
It's gone. At this point, the only way to get it back would be full out civil war, revolution, or civil war, and or revolution, really. And you know how many millions of people are going to die, and you still might not win. I mean, that's the position they're putting us in. You know, these dummies who are like, yeah, how dare they deny the election? Lock him up. Well, Hillary Clinton denied the election.
Yeah.
Well, you
No.
know, but you're fine with that. So the truth is, you guys want to have it both ways, you know, on every issue. If a Republican does it, they're bad. If a Democrat does it, no, there's a great reason for it. And don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, I'm not a registered independent. So I'm not picking a side on those. I'm just saying that, you know, it's, I don't know, just wake up and your country's basically, it's probably already gone. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they're putting all the, I think, the pieces in place to justify if they do, if they are able to steal it. They got to keep Trump off the campaign. And then with this conviction yesterday, basically the way I see it, after the election, they're just gonna say, "Oh well, the media, MSNBC, and those guys, they can be like, oh well, people just didn't want to vote for a convicted felon. They have to find a way to justify it to the world, basically. As long as they can justify it through some stupid excuse, then they get away with it. But if there's no way they could justify Biden winning with all the support Trump has, and I think they'll have obviously a hard time, convincing everybody. But I guess we'll.
Yeah. News is that, everything that they put Trump through, all the accusations they've made, he's only become more popular. And so a lot of people are waking up. A lot of the people I've been talking about, like, hey, wake up. A lot of them already woke up. And I think more and more are waking up, because it's just a tragedy that the United States is doing this to a former president. I mean, wow. I mean, you are in Russia, and if you can't see that, and you're just like cheering along with it because you don't like him, well, you're cheering along the death of your freedom.
No.
So, if you don't like a president, so what? They're only president for 4 years, 8 years, or like Robert De Niro coming out. If Trump gets in office, he's never going to leave. He's going to do all these bad things, on and on and on. All this terrible shit he says he's going to do.
Yeah.
Problem you have, Robert De Niro, is he was president for 4 years.
And he didn't do
So,
anything. Yeah.
right, he didn't do any of the things you said.
And
So,
then he's obviously not paying attention. Biden is doing exactly what the hell he's talking about.
right, and once again, that projection, what we accuse you of. Robert De Niro is for this stuff. He's a rich elite who only cares about rich elite. He's not coming out to defend poor people or people who are disadvantaged. You don't hear him talking about that. All you hear him talking about is power and money, right? That's really what he's talking about. He's on their team. He wants to maintain his lifestyle and his team. I mean, he don't have to do that. He could still maintain that, but I don't know. He's kind of lost his mind.
It's just funny for somebody that's been paid to talk like his whole life, man. He's horrible at it, man. He's almost as bad as me. But
no, nobody's as bad as Robert De Niro.
Yeah, he makes himself look like a fool, man, in front of everybody. That was funny though. Did you see that whole thing when he was talking, all the hecklers, and then somebody put their car alarm on, and it was like all distracting him? That shit was funny as hell.
He got blasted, and he was like, "Oh, this ain't right. You guys are gangsters. They're gangsters. Yet you're standing in front of a courtroom where the former president's on trial for 34 felony counts, and you're trying to persuade the jury and the court to put him in jail. That's fucking gangster, right? You're a thug calling people thugs. Once again, he's just projecting what he is onto other people. It's like it's a psychological phenomenon, and I guess this is what they're all afflicted with, this projection, where you project bad qualities onto other people.
Yeah, that's a trip. But I mean, of all people, him. What the hell?
Trying to rig a trial outside of a courthouse?
Yeah, no shit.
That's gangster. That's what gangsters do. And then call people who are defending the president gangsters? Yeah, okay. What an idiot.
Yeah, he's a dumbass. Well,
yeah, I can't. It's like there's no possible chance. No way. I don't care if it's the best movie ever made. It's still the worst because he's in it.
Yeah, no, he's sucked for a long time already, man. I was thinking the other day, man, it'd be funny if just kind of to counter his ass if Al Pacino came out in support of Trump. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Imagine.
right.
That'd be
Or
great.
Bill Pesci.
Dennis Quaid came out and supported Trump. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people are,
I'll take
and
that.
you saw like in the Bronx, all those people. They've lost the people.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
if it's a free and fair election, I mean, Trump wins it, probably the biggest landslide of all time if it was a free and fair election. But it won't be a free and fair election, and they'll make sure of that.
Yeah.
If they have to
Um,
lock you down with another pandemic, if they have to start a war, if they have to start violence and protest in your street and pay people to do it, that's what they're going to do to silence American votes.
yeah. Yeah, they'll probably they'll maybe justify some sort of way to not have elections. Yeah. Um, one thing real quick. I know I've gone over it a bunch of times. Just as far as what happened yesterday, just basically that whole trial. How the hell is it
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't appeal it earlier to the same people that overturned Trump's basically what they what the hell is it when they told him they had to pay 500 million for that property case that he's doing. You know how he had to pay 500 million and some sort of appeals court above that judge and that prosecutor, they lowered it to 150 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole system, how come those people couldn't be involved in this case yesterday? How come they couldn't be like, you know what, this judge is conflicted. He has a daughter. He's actually donated to Biden. His daughter's collecting money for the Democrat Party. Obviously, it's a major conflict of interest. I don't understand why they didn't appeal to those same people that overturned his that judgment of lowering it from 500 million to 150 million and giving him more time and all that. Like, that's the New York Court of Appeals, I'm assuming, some sort of circuit. I don't know what circuit number it is out there, but how the hell is it
Yeah.
they didn't appeal to them earlier and tell them, like, get this judge off this damn case? Like, he's
Well,
fucking.
they tried, but I think they did try, but
I just didn't hear.
they
I
were shot.
haven't seen anybody on Fox, anybody talking about that. Like, I would be saying that if I was one of their lawyers or one of his representatives or even somebody on Fox, I'd be saying that every day. Like, appeal
Well,
them.
they're
Like,
going
go reach out to them again.
to
Like,
kill it now.
huh?
I mean, they're going to do that now. They're
No, I
definitely
know,
going
I
to.
know. Now they have a chance. Now that the verdict came in, but I'm just saying, why the hell didn't they do that earlier? Like, it just makes sense that there is a governing body that with a little bit more authority than the last trial. So why the hell couldn't they just reach out to that same body that did that last time? Like, they have to
Yeah,
see what they're talking about. This judge is basically, it's a conflict of interest in being in charge of it, and he proved it every single day. Like, so I just don't understand that part, man. I don't know.
well, I don't know. It could be because one was civil and one's criminal is probably the reason. So
Yeah.
maybe it's a different appeal court, and that's probably the case.
But
Um,
whether
'Cause
civil or a criminal, I mean, each one has to have their own
I
layer. I mean,
think
I
it was
guess.
just money thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all that. And you got to. I just go back to this every time. It's um, when you're dealing with questions like this, you got to always keep in mind that they're going. Whoever that could help is going to be contacted by the FBI, the DOJ, and others, and they're going to be persuaded one way or the other to not do this stuff. So every once in a while, you do get a win like that. But that judge who did do that, he might be in trouble now. He might be, they might be messing with him now, and you might see that come out later because they're basically like, look, you don't get in the way of what we're doing, or we're coming after you. And
Yeah.
so most people are intimidated or scared. And I'm sure there's a lot of judges and people in different positions who want to do the right thing, but they know the cost.
Yeah.
And these guys, and if you want to talk about gangsters, De Niro, your government is gangsters, is capital G gangsters.
Yeah.
They will come after anybody who gets in their way. And that's why they're going after Trump, is because he's the one that's in their way. He's the one that's a threat to their corruption and their power.
Yeah.
And Trump was to say, you know what, I'm dropping out of the race. they'd probably be like, you know what, that's, you on appeal, you know what, yeah, it's you're good. We're gonna go overturn all this stuff, and you're good. Have a nice life. If he got out of the way.
Yeah.
The only reason all this is happening is because he's in the way of the government, the deep state's corruption and power, and the attempt for a one world government. So whenever you think about these things, like why this, why that, it's because you either have people who are already corrupt that would in those positions that could help, or they're being contacted and corrupted through intimidation, bribes, blackmail, threats, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. If Trump dropped out, I think Nikki Haley would win in a landslide, and there'd be no pushback. They'd be just happy with her. Biden
Yeah,
could go.
because she's going to do the state's bidding in the one world government
Yeah.
new order sort of bidding. She knows she's going to be one of them.
Yeah.
Anybody after Trump, this is the thing. Like you can, even if Trump wins, you get him for 4 years. After that, it goes back to this shit. And so I think at the end, they're going to get their way. They're going to get a one world government. They're going to strip Americans of their freedoms. It's in the Bible too. I mean, there's going to be a one world government. I mean, biblical. So these things are going to happen. It's just a matter of, are they going to happen now? And there's always wild cards and things you don't see coming that happen, that throw things off, that change things, but you can't predict them because they're really hard to foresee.
Yeah.
But after he's only president for 4 years, the deep state ain't going anywhere.
No.
And he can try to eliminate it, and he'll probably go hard on that and probably do a lot of damage to it, but I don't think he'll be able to eliminate it. And I think we're right back in the same boat where you're voting for a Democrat or a Republican who are both deep state. There's no difference. They talk different, but they do the same things. And that's what we'll end up with at the end of this, probably. So I wouldn't be too worried about the whole Trump thing, because we're kind of screwed anyway.
Yeah.
I hate to say it like that, but I'm just calling it like it is. This is where we are. It's a sad, disgusting, disappointing place in America.
Yeah.
And this year is going to be a defining moment for America, because if Trump does win, we do have a chance. But I think, the chance of dismantling this whole system is very slim, even with Trump. So,
Well, I think the country's
depressing.
more awake than it's probably ever been. Their corruption and how foul they are, I think, is more apparent now than ever. So what you've been saying for a long time, that he just exposed the whole game. Like they're using all their tricks, and it's so damn public and so obvious now that they're probably pissed that he's shining a light right on how evil they are, basically, and how far they're willing to go. And they haven't even gone all the way. Obviously, from the stuff we've talked about on the show with JFK and RFK and all these people, man. But well, shit. All right, well, Dan. Well, I mean, it's messed up, man. So yeah, I was really upset about it yesterday, and hopefully the appeal. And then the other thing, his ruling's gonna be on July 11th. I guess that's 3 days before the Republican convention. It's gonna be no surprise if he keeps him. If his ruling is that he can't leave the House, and so therefore he can't even attend the Republican convention.
Well, technically, they could throw him in jail.
They could do it now. On the no, don't they have to wait for the appeal, like what the result of the appeal, or they could throw him in jail before the.
If you're convicted of a felony, they could throw you in jail right then.
So like today.
So I don't know how this is going to play. They could.
Yeah.
And they probably will. Honestly, they probably will throw him in jail if he's still around. They're going to be like, "That's it, dude. Now you're going to jail. You're not going to be president." But once again, that just makes him even more of a martyr. They're just making him stronger and stronger and alienating the American people more and more. So I'm sure they got their little war room right now with Soros and BlackRock and, all the people who are the evil people behind the scenes coming up with, okay, this is the plan we're going to do. If this doesn't work, then we'll do this. If this doesn't work, we'll do this. And if we do this, then what are the ramifications, vice versa. So they sit around like a bunch of demons
Yeah.
plotting evil tactics and plan B's and plan C's and etc. So this is not. This is like it's going to get uglier
Yeah.
because they're not letting him in. Like they aren't going to fucking let him be president. Now that doesn't mean it won't happen, but
No.
they're going to do everything they can to stop it. And I think it comes down to it. It'll be uh, war in your streets.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully more people wake up, man. Hopefully it's they didn't anticipate that. I don't know. There's something that they didn't anticipate, man, for sure. Because yeah, he's getting more popular. What he did in the Bronx, I think, was a big wake up call to them. That they have to go harder because, well, obviously what they're not doing isn't working the way they thought. They probably just thought that him being charged and having all these trials was going to turn a lot of people off, but it's not. Unless, I don't know, unless they have like just a huge strategy, knowing that it's gonna make him seem like a martyr, so that's gonna get him more support. But like you said, but so if that happens, this is what we're gonna have to do. Yeah, who the hell knows, man? But
Well, I think they thought by charging him and doing all these things that it would turn public opinion away from him. Right? That was Plan A. Plan A isn't working. Like the more they do to him, the more popular and the more people are behind him. So that's not working at all. So now, if that's not going to work and his popularity is growing, how do we keep him out? We can't. If we had a free and fair election, he's going to win. It doesn't at this point. It doesn't matter what they do to him. He will win.
yeah,
Right? Even if he's in a prison cell, if he's on the ballot, even if he's not, they might write it in and win. So he's going to win. So what do you do with that? Now you gotta force it to not happen, which means rigging the election one way or the other. And the way they typically do that is literally rigging it. But before they literally rig it, they start riots in your streets.
yeah,
They do it every 4 years. In the last 2 cycles, and then this one they've already got the Palestinian Jewish thing going, but that backfired on them too. So now they're going to Plan B, and it'll be something else, some hot button topic that comes up, or they create, and then they'll pay protesters to get out there and riot in your streets, or they'll release another pandemic. They're going to do something to keep him from being president and keep it from being a free and fair election, because a free and fair election, they know he wins.
yeah,
So we can't let that happen. So how do we stop that? And you got layers, right? This is our first step. We try this before the election. We try this before the election. We try this before the election. There are probably multiple things, like I'm saying, the riots, things like that. And then if that's not working, and he's still winning during the election, they're going to rig it. But they don't really want to do that because a lot of eyes are going to be on that more than ever before. So that's going to be hard to do. But they'll do it. They're the idea of him.
yeah,
The idea of him winning to them is the end of the world. Like they are like, we will kill people, literally kill people before we let him in office.
yeah,
And I have no doubt about that. They will literally kill people.
yeah. I guess.
So I don't know. It's not going to be a fun year the rest of this year.
Well, it's gonna be interesting, man. I guess for sure it's crazy times to be living in, to be witnessing all this stuff, man.
Yeah.
And how far they're willing to go over one guy that's that came in.
But it's not even about that. It's not about him. It's about the power that he holds. It could be anybody. Like it could be Michelle Obama. If Michelle Obama came out and said, "I am running for president, but you know what? I've changed my ideas," and she started talking like Trump, like about I'm gonna put America first. I'm gonna do the right things. Right? We're gonna get freedom back. We're gonna have a fair justice system. All these things. If she started talking like him, she would be enemy number one. So it's not about the person. It's about the person that has power and the power they want to bring back freedom and justice to Americans.
Yeah.
That's the things they don't want. So anybody in that position, they're going after. Michelle Obama would get arrested too and locked up and all this stuff or whatever. They would do all the same things to her that they're doing to him. It wouldn't matter. My point is, it wouldn't matter who it is. It could be somebody that's on board with them right now. If they changed and went 180, that they're done.
I think the one unique thing about Trump, though, is that the amount of attacks, the amount of negativity thrown at him, he's been preparing for his whole life. He's been used to that type of stuff. So I don't think anybody would have the basically, what's the word, resilience, or you know what I mean, to basically the courage to stand up to all that, or just be able to take it like Trump has.
I agree.
Like
I agree.
nobody's more prepared for
Down,
that stuff than him. So
yeah, it's going down in history as a legend, as a martyr, as a
yeah,
defender of democracy.
but
Like he's gonna be reviled for centuries after this. Like they've made him, like they think that they're all powerful, but they made him powerful for centuries to come. His name is going to live on long after everybody's forgotten about Sleepy Joe.
yeah,
Right? He's going to be a footnote in history while Trump is like a giant.
yeah, man. Well,
So,
it goes back to
as
my
far as
point,
that
man.
goes,
That it's almost a miracle that this particular person with these skills is the one. You know what I mean? So
it could have been like, a lot of people think that, he's sent from God, and that
yeah, I
or
don't know.
put in this position, not sent from God, but put in this position by God.
No, what
God
I'm
is
saying
using
is
him.
it's up there, man. It's like I said, it's like a miracle. Like there's nobody else more ready, and his ideas are all correct. I mean, they're common sense ideas. You know what I mean? So I know for the most part,
Right.
most people have these common sense, but the fact that he's been setting himself up to be, the one to bring these about to the country and run for president, and have the personality that he has. Yeah, man, it's for sure a very very divine thing for somebody to
Yeah.
have.
Well, God, throughout the Bible, God does leaders, good and bad, in lots of ways. Well, mainly He uses them in the way to protect the Christian faith. That's His main goal. He's not really worried about the other things. God's just about Christians being allowed to be Christians. So he's going to protect them. So whether he's using Trump or not, I don't know. But he's used Roman emperors who were just straight monsters to protect Christians.
No.
Like it's weird how he did it, but he did. Right? These guys changed their ways and went, you know what? No, we're not going to persecute the Christians anymore. But I'm still going to kill these guys and these guys and these guys. Still gotten in their mind and changed their thinking on things as far as Christians go. So as far as Trump goes, I can't say one way or the other. I don't know. God works in mysterious ways, but it is he he is a legend, man.
Yeah.
On this world, yeah,
I,
probably everybody in the world would have folded by now.
yeah. And from all the obviously all the investigating, everything, all the probing into his personal life, every aspect of his life has been, like we talked about before, has been investigated, and he's actually a good person. Or if he'd been like a murderer or something you would think one of these construction guys, whatever the hell, they would have done some sort of shitty thing to somebody, especially coming from New York. Taking somebody out, he's actually not done anything bad at all, like anything illegal. Or,
Right.
yeah,
Right,
man,
and
so,
yet with these convictions, he could go to prison for almost 100 years.
yeah, no shit, man.
I mean, murderers don't even get this. A lot of murderers can get 50 years, 30 years, whatever. Some get life, but a lot of them do less time. And so you can see just by that alone how ridiculous the whole thing is. He paid hush money to a porn star because he was running for election. They've all paid hush money to a porn star or a escort or whatever, or an affair they had.
Yeah.
Right? All these politicians do this stuff. All these judges and people like that, they do this stuff. Most of them are doing stuff like this. And to say, hey, we're going to lock you up for 100 years for doing that, and which is what we do.
No.
It tells you just how corrupt and how hard they're trying to hang on to power.
That's the worst thing they got in them, just that porn star thing. And even if it's true, which is actually really questionable, even her lawyer says it didn't happen. But that's the worst they got in them, even like involving girls and stuff like that. But all right, Dan. So basically,
Well, I mean, if it is true,
Okay.
so what?
No, go ahead.
I
Go
was just
ahead.
going to say real quick, it's two grown adults having. If it was true, it's just two grown adults having consensual sex, right?
Yeah.
And then he pays their money not to talk about it.
No.
Where's the illegality?
Well, no,
Right?
they're trying to bring down his obviously his image and stuff like that because he was married at the time. So just trying to bring it
Right,
down
right,
any way they can. But
right.
nah, for the most part, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. Fuck, how much? What do we have? May, June, July, August, September, October. 5 more months. 5 more months of I think it's gonna be the craziest 5 months ever, man. Until
Yeah,
the election.
I would. As long as Trump stays in it and stays this popular, and I imagine his popularity will grow after this, then yeah, the world's going to burn for the next 5 months.
Oh shit. All right, Dan. So basically, we've been talking about for about an hour or so. You're good. I don't know how much longer, but I think we could get through
Um,
most of these. You're good. Okay. So if we got like another hour, you're
yes.
good. All right, Dan. So okay. So
Yeah.
then let's get into this, bro. We'll do the part B of our solutions to save country answered as if you were president. Okay. So then last show we I think we ended it on what how we could improve public health, and then the next question, I don't know if we got into it. Did we get into it? To how do we bring back jobs to America? I think it kind of led into it from my
We didn't do
ideas.
the we didn't do the jobs.
Okay, so my idea was basically it was coming off of the last question, which was improving healthcare, and obviously trying to lower the costs and by focusing on different parts of health. If the medical industry focused on certain parts of human health, they could lower costs in a lot of ways, and they just need to bring down the cost of healthcare anyway. But I always thought that was one of the reasons a lot of corporations move their companies to China, or all these other countries all over the world. Basically, they have less obligation to, pay them health care, along with the wages. Trump tried to bring back jobs from China. What was he doing? What was he doing? Like incentives or stuff like that? No, something to bring, or was he? He was trying to threaten them. No, he was going to charge them more money or something like that. More on the
Yeah.
to bring back jobs. You know what it was? What did they
Well, he
call it?
was
Tariffs and stuff like that. Is that what they used?
right.
So he was going to
Hmm.
charge these companies more if they were an American company and they're making their product in China or anywhere in the country. He was going to charge them more to bring it back to the United States. So it was in their best interest to bring their company back to the United States and make their. Is that how he was trying to do it? Do you know? Do you remember? I don't remember exactly the
Right. So
details.
if you give companies who are here tax incentives
Hmm.
to stay here.
That's what it was. Yeah. So he was.
But if they leave, and not even the ones that left, but also just the companies who are already in China and around the world, if their tariffs were more, if they were winning the tariff game, because there's tariffs, countries do tariffs on countries all over the place. This is very normal. So, but China had the upper hand on us on tariffs. Like we were paying way more tariffs to ship stuff to them than they were paying to ship stuff to
Yeah, that
us.
makes
So he
no
was
damn
like, no,
sense. Yeah, I remember that.
right. So he charged them more tariffs on their products, or they had to lower the tariffs on ours. Right. He was like, we're going to even this out to where, and actually we're going to even out to where we're getting a bit of an advantage, because guess what? We're the ones that
Are
are
selling the
running this
product.
game.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how you do it. Tax incentives to stay here, and tariffs if you leave, and tariffs to companies that are already there. If they don't lower their tariffs, then we raise ours.
Yeah.
And that's basically what he did, and that's how you do that.
And it worked, didn't it? Weren't companies coming back?
Oh, great! Yeah, it worked really well.
So yeah, so I don't know what Biden changed about that, but I mean, for a long time I wondered, obviously, making a product here compared to China, where there's no human rights, no worker rights. You could have a 10-year-old kid making your product, like they're making iPhones and stuff like that. is obviously a big attractive thing to companies and stuff like that. But I always thought that maybe it was because of unions and stuff like that out here, that why they're leaving, why we can't deal with American workers, because we have too many rights here. We have union rights. You're also going to be obligated to provide some sort of health care. So I had always thought that maybe if they lowered the cost of health care, that might be something that would bring certain jobs back. But no, it has to do with just the no labor rights or no worker rights in other countries and stuff like that, paying way lower wages. So it ultimately just comes down to greed, no? Because I mean, they're destroying
Oh
the
yeah.
country by shipping jobs out of here, and they're making more money. So they're hurting the country and making more money. So
Right, and that's what it really comes down to. It you can raise tariffs, give tax incentives, all these things, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a moral compass, whether you're a company or whatever, companies are competing with each other, so they're always trying to outdo each other, and then the people at the top are always trying to get richer. It's never enough, and they get lost, and to the point they lose their moral compass, and that's really what it comes down to is knowing right and wrong. So, in order to do business in the United States as a company and provide a decent wage and healthcare and benefits, you're going to make a little less profit than you would in a third world country or some other country where the costs are lower. So ultimately, it comes down to people doing right are wrong, and this comes back to God once again. Everything does, and without right and wrong, these people don't have this moral compass. They don't have God, so they go, you know what? How can I make the most money? I only have 3 mansions. I need a fourth and a yacht, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, and I care about people. They are irrelevant. They are nothing but tools for me to get richer, get more money, more power, more women, more things.
Yeah.
And so that's really, at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to is the moral compass, and the moral compass comes from God, because without that, you decide what your moral compass is. And most people, when they don't have God, their moral compass is money
Yeah.
and power.
Yeah.
So that's really what companies have done. They're already making a profit, but in the United States, given a decent wage and providing these benefits, but they're like, I want more money. I need more. Like, you ever notice, like, really rich people, it's never enough.
No.
Like, they can just never get enough money. It's like, because they're trying to fill a void that it is endless.
No.
Money's not going to make you happy. Only God can do that. So if you're chasing money, you're chasing a false um, happiness. It's
No.
not going to work. That's why we have the companies that we do have, and it's all around the world. Most people are like that, are the large majority.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
but
mean,
political, you can do the tariffs and tax incentives to, you know, make it to where they're not going to make more money by doing these things, and
so it's
so
in
they
their
might
best
as
interest to just come back. Yeah.
right. They might, because
So,
they're not morally going to do it. So
yeah.
you have to financially make it happen to where they're not going to make more money by staying, but they're not going to make more money by going. So
So
I mean, I might as well just do business where I
So what Trump was
already am.
doing was probably the best way. I mean, obviously, once if they were,
Yeah,
if they went for it, saying, going for the incentives and knowing that the risk is a higher tariff on their products coming back to the United States. If they had any more complaints, like, look, we could bring them back. We know we appreciate all that stuff, but the cost of these workers is too high. That's why I think it would come into investigating why that, or figuring out why the hell the cost is so much. And I think healthcare is the number one reason. I think even in where we work at, like, that's like their biggest gripe. Every time there's a union and company negotiations, it all has to do with healthcare. So so basically,
yeah,
bottom
I
line,
would
I
agree.
guess.
Healthcare is a big part of it.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so then I guess it would be that, it would be Trump's approach is raising tariffs and offering incentives to bring back jobs. I've always said, man, I don't know why the hell we can't have at least a damn TV made in America. Like, why can't we just have one good product that's just made here, like that's really useful? You know what I mean? Like, everything's appliances, everything made out of the country, man. Like, and those type of jobs, they're manufacturing jobs, and I know a lot of stuff's electronic nowadays, but automated systems that build everything, but there should be more
Right. Because
American
it
products,
costs
man.
it costs more to do it here because of the labor costs and the healthcare costs and et cetera. So
Yeah.
it's gonna, we could do it. All these things. I mean, we do make stuff here, but we could make a lot more, and we used to make a lot more. But
Yeah.
the reason is because of the cost. So you make the cost doing business elsewhere as expensive, if not more, with tariffs, and you lower the cost here with tax incentives, and you and that's the best way to do it on a real world way.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it comes down to doing right and wrong, and imagine like these companies outside of the United States, they're like, yeah, we're not going to give you health care. We're going to pay you dirt poor wages because they don't have any sense of right and wrong. And most of the companies here are like that too. So, they're like, well, we can't really compete with them either, right? So we can't do it here because they're going to ship from China. Even if we make it here, they're going to sell it cheaper. So you have to make the product from China cost more or give tax incentives here and really do both to even that out, because we actually, in general, we've always had a higher standard of living here than the rest of the world for the most part. So it costs more.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to increase the cost of the products that the rest of the world's making that are coming in here, are just block them all together. You're not selling stuff here if it doesn't work, and then they'll cave.
Yeah.
So it's not a real complicated
Okay.
way to do it, and that's exactly what Trump did.
Yeah.
But the government right now, they're not interested in a strong middle class in America. Like I said, they don't want this happening. They want to put jobs out of the country. They want to make the American people poor, because if you're poor, then you need government assistance. If you need government assistance, you ain't voting them out. And even if you did, we'll just rig it. You ain't going to be able to stop it because you don't have any say so. You just really don't have any power.
Well, nobody's even attempted it. Obama didn't even talk about that. Bush didn't even try. Obviously, it was China being involved. Bush didn't even try to bring back jobs at all. Obama didn't try. So Trump was the first one to really try something. What he did was the correct approach. So just basically higher tariffs on products coming back in, and incentives, and then just looking into how to lower the cost of labor here in the United States would be, I guess, the solution, or at least the beginning solution. So.
Yeah,
Agreed?
it's not a complicated.
Yeah.
It's just greedy people are in charge, and they don't care if you're making a good wage or you have good health care or good benefits. They don't give a shit. Matter of fact, they'd rather you did it, because if you don't, they own you.
Yeah.
And if they own you, you can't get rid of them. They seize power. So people worry a lot about guns, like I say, but the guns are like this. That's like a plan B, plan C. They do want those, because if people ever do rise up, even if they're poor, they don't want to get into a fight. So they want your guns, but they want your money more than your guns, way more.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason of why what's happening is happening. They're trying to create the United States to be like China, like Russia, like other countries where the government's in full control and the people are either rich or poor. And the rich run things and the poor do what they're told. The end of the story. And that's exactly what they're trying to do here. Because once you do that here, there's really very little stumbling block to a one world government. We are the bulwark. We are the stop
Exactly.
to them taking over one world government. But if you weaken the United States public financially, then there's nothing to stop it, or very little.
Yep. All right, brother. So I think we got that one kind of covered. All right, so now the next question. So this is a big one. Say everything worked out. Say Trump came back in. Say, maybe they're able to stop, end the Ukraine war and end what's happening in Israel. If everything was going good in the country, what the hell happens with the military-industrial complex? They're not going to go away. they're gonna what the hell? What role are they gonna play in a peaceful world if it was ever to happen? Like, what the hell do they do? Does that whole industry go
Let me go
away,
back to
or what could they do? I don't think
hang
they'll ever
on.
go away.
Let me
They're
go back to
always
the
gonna.
last issue. But
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to make one more point on the last issue. What
Oh
I
yeah.
would
Yeah.
do if I was president. So I would do the tax incentives. I would create a stable environment for business in the United States. And another thing I would do is I would kick every Chinese landowner out of here. You're out. I'm
Oh yeah.
buying it all from at face value. I'm not going to cheat you, but you're gone. You're out. There's no more Chinese police stations here. There's Chinese police
Oh
stations in
yeah.
our cities.
I
The
know.
Chinese are buying up farmland. This is all gone, right?
No.
And you got to make farming more lucrative as well. There's too many taxes and things on farms in the United States. So
Yeah.
I'm getting rid of all these Chinese and foreign landowners. Like if they're an adversary of the United States, you can't own land in the United States. You're out.
Yeah.
Buy. We're buying that land back. Get out. So I would do that. And that's one other thing, if I was president, that would be like real top of my list is China's buying up America. And it's no wonder we're going communist. Anyway, what was the other thing, the military industrial complex?
Yeah. No, real quick on your point. Didn't Sarah Huckabee Sanders they already passed legislation banning any Chinese people owning land? No, didn't they? There's people trying to do legislation for
I
that.
don't know if it did or not, but probably did.
Yeah,
She's
no,
solid.
there's people trying to address that already. But yeah, okay, so those are all really good ideas. Okay, yeah. So the next question is just the military-industrial complex. If we got peace in the world, what the hell happens to these? What happens to these people? Like, how do we keep them on check? Basically, if they're the ones causing the wars, they're the ones paying off politicians, they're the ones starting all the chaos, according to Eisenhower and a lot of people. What do we do with the military?
What would
Just
you do with military industrial complex if there was peace?
if there was a peaceful world, basically, yeah. So right now,
Okay.
they hold the cards because obviously, they're getting paid now for Ukraine, which Ukraine's and Russia. That's all suspicious. Now they're sending aid to or equipment to Israel. I mean, I don't know where the hell else. We're the number one supplier of guns in the world. So, what the hell happens with these people with this whole industry?
Well, first of all, when has there ever been peace in the world? Right. So the idea that the whole world would be at peace is not going to happen. But there's been plenty of times where the United States wasn't in conflict, and at that time, I mean, you first of all you got to go through the military hierarchy and get out the bad apples that are that are actually pushing conflicts for their own gain. Work through that, get rid of them, demote them, retire them, whatever. And if it's peaceful time, then you kind of downsize your military a little bit, not a lot. You got to keep a strong military,
Yeah,
but
military for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So
Would it be
I don't know.
lobbying?
Because
You think maybe barring them from being able to lobby?
you mean who's lobbying, like gun
The
manufacturers, or
Yeah, like Raytheon and all those companies, everybody that's making weapons and stuff like that, they lobby. So maybe
yeah,
barring them from lobbying, maybe bar them from being able to hire ex-military, U.S. military officials and stuff like that.
yeah. I don't know. I haven't thought about this one a lot, but
Yeah, no, it's complicated. 'Cause, yeah, you obviously want, I put it. I don't know if it's one of the questions, but yeah, you want the United States to, no matter what, stay the number one military power in the world. Like that has to happen, no matter
right.
what. So they're gonna have that money for sure, but they're gonna want to waste. And obviously, say hypothetically there was no hot wars for the United States to be involved in supply. What do they do with all the guns, all the bullets? Do they just keep making them and just have an abundant supply and just
Oh,
not do just
we don't
collecting
need them.
dust?
We don't need them. Then don't buy them.
Well, yeah, I mean, so
Right.
to me,
So
I don't
companies go
know.
out and business. I'm not worried about that. Because if a war did break out, those companies will pop right back up and start making more.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, the government would do it. So I'm not worried about that. We're not buying guns and ammunition that we don't need, right? Just to do it, no. Um, and as far as
So
lobbying goes, lobbying is a curious question, like because you have everybody's lobbying, and I wonder, like, do we even need lobbying? Is there a benefit to it?
to me, that I always thought that was the bridge between what we're trying to do here is democracy or whatever, republic and fascism. Like, I mean, if a corporation all they have to do is buy off a politician and make them vote a certain way, how the hell is that not what fascism is? Basically, it's the union between government and corporations. So I don't understand how the hell lobbying is just tolerated like that, man. But I guess it's
Yeah,
some, some
I don't see I can't see a valid point for its existence,
yeah.
right? You elect the representatives, then they go to represent you. That should be it.
And then they get paid to do something they wouldn't normally do, just because they got paid to it for it. You know what I mean? Like that's what lobbying is. They convince them to vote a certain way that benefits
Right,
the corporation. And
right,
if they didn't give them that money, they can't just convince them and just do us a favor. They're only going to do it for money. So it's basically it's obvious corruption. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, like they're selling out the country for money. And
yeah.
when it comes to the oil industry, when it comes to the military industrial complex, it's for a really bad reason. So
Yeah, I can't think of a valid reason for any lobbying.
yeah,
Like because say you get a representative in your district that you elect to Congress. Well, that they already have they got elected by the people who want them to do certain things. They talk to their constituents and they tell them what we want. There's your lobbying with no money. Then they go to Washington and then people come in with money and start telling them, well, this is what we want, right?
yeah.
So that's contradicting many times the people who elected. So yeah, I almost, unless someone can come up with a good point on lobbying, I would say do away with it altogether. Not just with the military, with everybody.
I've debated some people online, and they just try to say, "Oh no, lobbying is good because otherwise they wouldn't have money." I forgot how the hell they did it. Just some programs that are good, that are like for that aren't evil and stuff. I don't know what example I give, but sometimes they said good because the programs that they want to fund or they want to push a politician to vote for is a good thing for them.
Right.
Like
But
so
aren't those programs already embedded into the representative that was elected by the people who want those programs?
no, that argument doesn't really work. It doesn't make sense. That's how some
Right.
people try to
Right.
justify it. Um,
Right.
so
It does make sense because you elected somebody. If you needed a particular program for the betterment of a community, then you elected this person to go do that in Washington. Then they go to Washington and they do that. And if they do that, you reelect them. If they don't do that, then you elect somebody else who will do it. You
yeah,
don't need a lobby to get that done. The lobby actually is just corrupting it.
yeah.
I never get lobbying a lot, but yeah, right when
Well,
I'm
it's a
thinking
curious
about it
thing.
right
There's
now.
the I saw recently a clip. Coming back to Biden. I don't know if you saw that clip. Basically, where in the '80s, he literally on camera saying that I offer myself to these people. I'm willing to sell out. I'm willing. He literally saying this. Like, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he said like, I'm willing to sell out, and they told me come back when I'm in my 40s. But I was willing to, like, and this is in the '80s. This is Biden in the '80s saying he's willing to do stuff like this. So, so yeah, that's basically what lobbying is. It's just basically selling out and just doing some foul stuff. Uh, all right, then. So I guess this question right here, yeah, it's a complicated one because what do you do with them? Other than I guess I would break it down to obviously
Yeah,
Raytheon and all these. Go ahead. What were you saying? Yo, can you hear me, Dan? Oh, great.
so if you don't have anything going on that you need to produce, huh?
Yo,
Hello,
I'm sorry, Dan. You can out a little bit, brother.
hello,
Go
hello,
ahead.
hello.
Yo, can you hear me?
Oh, can you?
I
Yeah, I
can
hear
hear.
you.
I can hear you. You're cutting out a little bit though.
Huh. All right. How about now?
Yeah, you're good right there, bro. So what were you saying?
Okay. I was going to say, as far as like lobbying with the military industrial complex and subsidiary companies and things like that, you just let nature take its course, right? You just do common sense stuff. Like if we're not in a conflict where we're needing to produce arms and things like that,
Yeah,
then you let it go where it goes. You don't buy them, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
don't sustain a company just because you want to sustain a company. If the company is a private company who's making guns and ammo and selling them to the mills, not buying them at that time. And if they go out of business, they go out of business. That's called business.
Yeah.
That's like any other company. So you know what I mean? So I don't think it's a problem on how to do that. You just do it common sense wise. And when you need it, you, you know,
It'll come right back.
you manufacture. When you don't, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what spot you're in, bro, but you're cutting out a little bit more, bro. So I could hear your point. So you got through, but it's still cutting out.
I'm in the same spot, so it's weird.
Okay, you're good right there. Okay, yeah. So real quick, yeah. So your point is basically, yeah. So if it's a private company, if they're not needed, if whatever product they're making is not needed, they just go away and just basically let the market work itself out naturally.
Right.
Yeah,
That's called capitalism. That's called freedom.
yeah.
Companies
But
start off risk. Sometimes the product's needed more than others, or the service, sometimes less. That's called business.
well, I guess to Eisenhower's point in the last 70 years, there's always been war. So these people just been making money for decades now. So they're doing something, I think, to they're a part of the problem basically. But so what do you do if you're trying to make a peace in the world and you got these guys are constantly trying to start wars and instigate wars and stuff like that? Like, I guess it's a you know
Well, if you find out who's doing that and you get rid of them, right?
yeah, yeah.
You're trying to start wars and start conflicts. Guess what? I mean, that's criminal offenses right
Yeah,
there.
that's what I was about to say. I guess if you break down these corporations, Raytheon and all these corporations, they come down. If there's a corporation, it's a board of members. So you start looking into each individual member. Which one of these guys are the worst ones? Which ones are they all? Are they only hiring? Are they all groupthink, just thinking the same thing, just all evil, or there's specific ones that influence the others and are the ones that are the connections to Washington, and just start going that way, just picking them off individually until you
Well,
got
you
at
don't
least
have to talking about picking off private citizens who are running a company with a contract with the government. I'm talking about getting government officials that are in the military who are trying to start crap,
yeah,
getting rid of them. Yeah. But as far as like Raytheon, which isn't government owned, if you don't need their products, you're not buying their products. We're just not buying it. I don't care what you guys come to Washington and say or lobby. It's not happening. We don't need it.
yeah,
Right? You just don't do it. And now they are incentivized to make more and more bullets because they need more and more boats and houses or whatever. Right?
yeah, exactly.
They don't care. They're trying to make money off of people's deaths. So it's pretty sick. But they have the right to do that. But we're not going to buy it because we don't need it. Right?
So
We're
would
not
you
going to buy
agree? Lobbying is
money.
one of their main sources of creating business for themselves. Would you agree at least
Yeah,
that?
I would say
So
that
that
with every company.
so then that would be part of the first place to start. Just trying to look into
Yeah.
their lobbying, bar them maybe from lobbying with Washington because of the type of product that they make is just too dangerous.
Well, it's not even that. It's, it could be a product that's not dangerous. It just the lobbying creates an atmosphere where you're making stuff that you don't need and selling stuff and pushing stuff that isn't needed just for money. And the politicians are getting paid to do it. Like pharmaceuticals, you got pharmaceutical companies the most money to representatives so that they can push their drugs, and then they pay media companies to push them as well. They put commercials on it, etc., and they push all these drugs that aren't needed, and they pay doctors to diagnose people with stuff to sell a drug that they don't need, right? So it could be any industry where they're doing that, and it comes down to the money and lobbying. Yeah. So I would say get rid of lobbying because I don't see any valid reason for it. I think you get rid of lobbying, you get rid of a lot of problems
Yeah, hell yeah.
because United States government, we're gonna buy stuff that we need and not buy stuff we don't need, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but you have lobbying coming in, then you got this industry that's paying you to push legislation to buy stuff that you don't need, so you can make money and they can make money, and then we have all this excess ammunition and guns. Oh, we need to do something with them. Let's start a war, and then we
yeah.
can make more of them and
Yeah,
make more money.
so that money ends up being
So
used
the law,
for covert military operations where they create, a Taliban and and stuff like that, and that leads to more war in the future. Just guarantees more war. So, okay, so then I guess that would be the place to start for this question would be lobbying. Just really look into that, and maybe
yeah,
for sure barring uh, war manufacturers from being able to lobby in any sort of way, or hire ex
I would say
U.S. military.
I'd say ban everybody from lobbying. There's no reason for it.
Yeah.
Really, there's no reason for it. What's the reason?
No, no, yeah, it's yeah. I'm with you, man. I don't get it
Because
either. I don't understand how it's tolerated.
it takes the voice away from the people who elected their representative and gives it to corporations.
And it's sad, man, because even people like Rand Paul have been lobbied for. Supposedly TikTok has paid him money. Like, they all just take the money. It's just free
Yeah.
money to them, I guess. But all right,
Mm-hmm.
so for this question, lobbying is basically where we got to start in order to try to see how we put a leash on the military-industrial complex. All right, so then we got that one. All right, so then next question: how do we finally deal with our energy needs? So I thought for a long time that we were headed in the right direction, like in the early 2000s, and with the negative press that oil was getting. People thought that the Iraq War was all about oil, and then back then we didn't realize how they were going to weaponize basically not what it was back then, not climate change, but global warming. Global warming always sounded bad, and it made sense. If we're unnaturally burning fossil fuel, it makes sense that the stuff that wouldn't necessarily be thrown into the atmosphere is causing global warming and would melt the ice caps, and all of it made sense in the in the mid 2000s, whatever, before Al Gore got on top of it, and so oil was getting a bad rap. But now and so we were headed towards like a green future, and that's kind of what got me into politics, and a lot of my philosophy was based on energy and stuff like that, and solar panels and electric cars. But what I didn't consider back then and was the supply chain. The basically what it takes to create the products is what's going to affect, what I mean, like how effective they're going to be. So now finding out, a decade later, that electric cars actually create more pollution than they're supposed to be eliminating, and they're using that to weaponize the whole world. Now it's basically all climate change. All these policies that they're trying to enforce around the world is based off of climate change and trying to stop supposedly our own destruction of the world. So I thought that basically we were headed in the right direction with all the green technology, but now it's being weaponized. So I think a way to counter that now is to try to figure out a way to try to reduce our energy needs, like, or how do we do? If do we still continue our path for electric cars and solar panels, knowing that we need certain rare earth minerals from that China has a hold on to create solar panels, and the fact that Tesla is being manufactured in China, and the method to supply the electricity for all these new electric cars is making us burn more coal. Like, what the hell do we do? Like, it almost seems like there's no answer to how we deal with the energy issue. So I don't know if that made sense right there, but so basically, what do we do?
Right.
So go ahead.
Well, you something real quick that is important to really highlight, and that's the lithium that China has China has the majority of lithium
Yeah.
mining
Hmm.
in the world. And it's no coincidence that China has the majority of lithium mining,
Hmm.
and we're buying and we're moving to solar cars. I mean, electric cars, because the lithium's used in the batteries, not the panels. So the
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
batteries are lit most well. They use other rare elements, but lithium's the main one, and China has the vast majority of that. And China is basically lobbying the United States paying faster than we should, so that the technology is not really there. Because what'll happen is, like, going green or going to electric cars and solar panels and things like that. I think it will probably be um, we're not burning as much coal. We'll refine the technology to where it gets better and better, like anything else, to where it actually is better than using gas cars, things like quick. Is because China has corrupted so many of our politicians that they want it. That's what they want,
Hmm.
because they have that big industry of lithium.
Yeah.
So the way to this is what I would do with energy is, first thing I would do is open up the pipelines, obvious, and then you have to truck it,
Yeah.
right? You're causing more pollution by using trucks than you would with a pipeline. So you open up the pipelines, you reduce emissions right there, and you reduce cost.
Yeah.
And you regulations that the Bidens and all these corrupt politicians have put on coal, gas, and natural gas,
Hmm.
or oil, natural gas, and coal. And you keep using these sources, as well as nuclear. Nuclear is a very clean source, but
Long
it's
term.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, it's not dangerous, but it could be. Like, if something goes wrong, it's really bad. But with it, we've been using it for a long time, and it works really well. But in solar and electric are a really good idea, right? So there's nothing wrong with that either. But we have to ourselves and causing more problems than we're fixing. Right now, we're causing more problems than we're fixing.
Yeah.
If we slowed it down and the government wasn't pushing it for the People's Republic of China,
Hmm.
right, we'd be doing this in a much smarter way, where we would still be using. We would open up the pipelines, natural gas, and et cetera, take those regulations off, drop the costs, create jobs here, have less emissions because of that, and then keep working on the solar and the electric cars, right? Go ahead and use them, even though they may be causing more emissions. We're going to get better at it, and eventually, it probably will end up being mostly that, if not all that, and it'll be greener that way. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of letting it go in a smart, responsible way, doing it in a smart, responsible way. But right now, we're doing it in a irresponsible way, because of the influence of China over the United States government. They
Yeah.
paid off so many people that China is pushing this for their own wealth, and our politicians and corporations are corrupt and greedy, and so they're taking payoffs from China to do this.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, I use solar; it works great.
Yeah. No.
It's
Yeah.
a good thing,
I'm a
but
big fan of it too. Yeah.
it'll get better and better, right? The batteries will get smaller, technology will get better, just like a microwave or a TV. Look how big they used to be, and then it gets better and better.
Yeah. So I guess
So yeah, there's a way to do it that's responsible and smart. And the only reason we're not doing it in a smart and responsible way is because of political influence and corruption.
yeah. Well, basically, for me, yeah, I was really into just alternative energy. Like when I got into politics and just looking into all that type of stuff. Yeah, I always thought that solar panels was the way to go. Every house, every individual house has their own energy, energy source basically, and that solar panel could charge your electric car, and boom, you have free energy, you have free transportation, you have free everything, and it's just from a solar panel. So yeah, they just have to improve the technology. We tapping into conspiracies. Supposedly, they say that solar panels could be a lot more efficient, but they won't even allow them to be produced if they were like more than they have to be no more than 20% efficient. They could only be 20% efficient. So you know, I know technology over time will get better, but yeah, there has to be some sort of way to show that there's a way for solar panels to be the way to do it, so that each individual house can be, you know, self-sufficient, and then have an electric car. And then as far as you know, a fossil fuel, yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with you know, oil, or having basically hybrid cars. I think even Trump says that hybrid is the way to go because it's 50-50.
It's a middle ground that makes it responsible and smart
Yeah,
as you're working towards the full electric.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But I don't think it ever has to be full electric. I mean, not
Well, it
for
probably,
like the way they're trying to do in California, where Newsom fucking passed some sort of law where by what is it, 2030, every car has to be electric. That's old here, some stupid
right.
thing.
Thanks, China.
Yeah, and I remember thinking that was a good idea in the beginning, but now seeing just how they're weaponizing everything and how it's just not working out that way, that yeah, there has to be some sort of compromise. And to me, a hybrid would be the compromise. But yeah, like
Well,
with,
I think what'll happen with the electric cars, like for me, I have a van that I created into like an RV, and I use solar on it. Now I have solar panels, and I also have my battery bank hooked up to my alternator, so the sun charges up my batteries, and when I drive, it
yeah,
charges. And
mm,
eventually, these cars have really big batteries, so eventually they'll get to a point where the car, as it drives, it'll probably be like a whole solar roof, and then have a bigger alternator or some sort of technology where it can actually charge the battery
hmm,
on its own, and you don't
yeah,
need a charge station. So when you drive the car or just have it out in the sun, it's charging itself,
yeah,
right? And so you don't need to burn coal to create um, energy for these charging stations.
yeah,
So that's probably where this is going to lead. But it's as technology advances, it's probably what will happen is the cars will be self-charging, and you'll probably still have charging stations just in case for emergencies or things like that. Or and it'll be a point where it can charge 10%, it can charge 30%, and it'll just grow and grow and grow. I mean, you might get to the point where it can charge 100%. Like you don't need to choose the charging station at all, and that's probably where it's going to lead. But we just need to slow down and let the technology do there, because that's the beauty of capitalism. The first company that as they advance this technology, people are going to want that. Like, oh, the car can charge itself 50%. I want that. Oh, what, Toyota made one that can charge it 70%. Well, I want that, right? So you let the competition create the technology, financially incentivized by customers who want to buy it, and then that will happen. It's a great way to get things done. But that's exactly what I think what'll happen is, because like I said, I don't I don't have to charge my vehicle. It's a gas vehicle, but all the electronics I use, microwave, refrigerator, everything I have
hmm,
is all charged with solar and by driving. Well, so
yeah,
when I'm driving, I'm using gasoline, but that gasoline is also charging my batteries
yeah,
that I use for electric.
yeah.
So
Okay, so then I guess we kind of then both kind of agree that solar panels is one way to start to solve the energy issue, but obviously it comes back to supply. You know, that makes sure you have the material to create these solar panels. I always thought they should make the solar panels in the United States, but they do need certain minerals and stuff like that to create them. So how we go about that, I don't. I guess it's a little bit more complicated than.
well, you negotiate your trade deal. You get Trump in office and negotiate the trade deal with China over this lithium,
Yeah,
right? You make a better deal, and you don't let them run the table on you and buy out politicians to force it to happen because we want it to happen now,
yeah,
right? It's not working that well right now. It's working okay, but it'll get a lot better. It's relatively new, and it's like with any new thing. Like you look at cars when they first came out, the first Fords. Look at what they are, and look at what they are now, right?
yeah,
That's over time with a capitalist industry competing over making a better car so they can make money. Look at where our cars are now. The same thing will happen with electric cars. These first electric cars are like that first Ford.
yeah,
50
yeah,
years down the road, electric cars are going to be so much more advanced. They're probably going to charge themselves. You don't need a charging station. And so you do have a much cleaner environment because of that. But it's going to take time to do it responsibly. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face, kind of thing. And that's what
yeah,
we're doing.
yeah, yeah. I heard that. Okay. So then, okay. So I mean, there's a lot more little details to all this question, but for the most part, yeah, I think what you're saying is right there, and then the solar panels. So then, yeah, okay. I guess we got that one right there. So now,
I mean, you can even do other things like you can incentivize people riding a bike to work or using public transportation, depending on where you are. Like you can actually give them tax breaks or, you know, money.
well,
You know, you can pay them like, hey, you're not gonna if you're not using gas or electric, like you're riding a bike to work.
yeah.
Well, you should help those people out because it doesn't get cleaner than that.
Well, that's actually the concept behind these 15-minute cities, no, that they're trying to do. But
Right.
there's something kind of nefarious about these 15-minute cities that they're just forcing them. You know, some people think that the fire in Hawaii, the high, whatever the city that was that burned down, supposedly that they want that area to be a 15-minute city, so they purposely started this fire and burned down that whole little village in order to make 15-minute city there. So that's what I'm saying. They're just weaponizing all these good ideas that are, they're just good, you know, in the long run, but they're doing them really, really messed up. But yeah, there's a lot of details. Looked up a lot of information, and there's a lot of ways to go about being more energy efficient. You know, it's just it comes back to just kind of the use of energy. If you think about it, I think we're using a lot less electricity than we were, like say in the '90s. Back then, you had these big clunky televisions. Everybody had a stereo. Everything that's on our phones now used to have its own device. So I think we used to use a lot more electricity then than we do now. So how the hell is still, it could still be a problem to the point where they're weaponizing it and forcing and still claiming, climate change is happening. It's literally, the climate's messing, is putting us in danger because we're using so much electricity. I think it was worse in the 90s than it is now. I think we're using less electricity. Maybe the electric cars are balancing that back out, but I just can't imagine that all the devices that are obsolete now because of cell phones is making us, is making us use a lot more electricity. So
Well, it's like the weaponization of this is intentional, and it's intentional because they want to make money. So they're lying to you about, um,
climate change.
us using more. Yeah, they're lying about a lot of those things, climate change and us using more energy and things like that. And they're doing it. It's scare tactic. Fear is a very powerful motivator, and they're doing it in order to get what they want.
Yeah,
And what they want is what China wants because China's paying them to want it,
yeah,
and that's selling lithium around the world to the United States, especially. So we're going to push this electric vehicle way faster than we should because China is paying a lot of money to make it happen to the people who are rich and powerful in the United States. If it wasn't for that, we would be doing it in a much smarter way. And it's funny about that too is like, so you buy an electric car, and so you're not going to use gas. But then they put the price so the oil companies, I'm sure, lobbied representatives and made their mark on this to where, well, we want the cost of the people who are going away from our cars into electric cars to still pay that price for gas, even though they're not using it. That's why they cost more.
yeah.
Because they're still going to get their money. They're not going to lose money because if you drive an electric car, you don't have to pay for gas, but we're just going to charge you more for the electric car. We're going to inflate the price so that we still don't lose any money on selling you gas.
Yeah. Or shit.
It's
I
sick.
mean, the price of electricity is going up. I mean, ain't that what it is?
Yeah. Well, the price of electricity is going up. Yeah. Well, the price of electricity is going up because we can't use coal and natural gas and oil to, run the electric plants as much.
Yeah,
They've regulated a lot under the Biden administration at the behest of China, so that you'll use their lithium.
yeah. All right. Well, yeah, it's definitely a lot of little details to it, man. But I guess we'll come back to this one
But
someday.
that's why the everything has gone up is because they inflated the price of oil by putting regulations on oil companies and cutting off the supply, the pipelines, things like that. So that's intentional. We raised the price of gas, so you'll buy electric. On top of that, we raised the price of gas so that the products will cost more. Everything will cost more.
Yeah.
And therefore we can take more of your money and you'll have less buying power. Less buying power means you have less say-so in the political arena.
Yeah, for sure. That's what happened. All right, bro. So we're almost out of time. So I don't know if we got time for. So this list, it's just huge, bro. We're gonna do like a whole
Well, we did
season.
more through it if they didn't convict Trump. But
Yeah, shit. Yeah, that was a big one. We had to talk about that one.
oh yeah.
So I don't know what your time is at, bro. Are you kind of crunched for time still?
Um, I can do a little bit more.
You want to do one more? All right. This one's term limits. You think we need term
Okay.
limits? This might be an easy one.
We already have term limits. We need term limits for the director of the CIA, the director of the FBI, the attorney general. Well, the attorney general has term limits. He's at the pleasure of the president, so he
Well,
can get rid of him.
senators
But
and congressmen don't have term limits, do they?
yeah, they do.
They do?
Yeah, senator,
What?
you're either a two-year term or a 6-year term in the Senate. In the House, you're a 4-year term.
No. So I mean, as far as being
Oh, for
reelected.
get elected?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
There
like a
should be,
president. They only do 8 years. No more than that.
right. There
So
should be term limits on that, like the president. I agree.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
congressmen and senators should have term limits. What do you think it will be though? You think it'd be the same thing, 8 years, or how do you think?
I think 8 years is fine. Well,
For each
so if
one?
you have four for Congress, then I'd make Congress 8, and 2 and 6 for senators, then I'd make them. I would just switch them to 4-year terms as well and make it all 8, just like the president. Make it all 8.
8 years
But
for
you
all of
also
them.
need term limits on the director of the FBI, the CIA,
Yeah.
DOJ, Homeland Security. They can't. That's the big problem, is that our law enforcement agencies, the heads of those, they stay in for life. They don't get elected.
Yeah.
And so then once a new president or a representative comes in, they don't dare mess with them, try to get rid of them, because they'll arrest you, investigate you, and throw you in jail.
Yeah. 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 No, I agree.
Right? You want to come after
Well,
us?
hold up,
No,
brother,
this is
brother.
our house.
Wait, move,
So they're the
move.
ones really running. Stay there forever. That's the real.
Let's see.
Yeah, you're good.
My bad, Dan. You cut out right there, bro. But I think what you're saying is basically, yeah, if they know that they're gonna stay there, they got a lot of power, and they could mess with you, knowing that they ain't going anywhere. They're not elected by the people. They're is that correct around there? Yo, Dan, you there?
Well, and uncovers the FBI director. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad, bro. You keep putting that
Yeah,
right
can you hear
there.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you right there. So I thought
Think
actually
about it like this.
on your point, I thought it was yeah. I remember when I was looking up, I did something. I was trying to just look up FBI, the head of the FBI, and the same head of the FBI was in charge throughout the whole '90s. I always thought that was kind of funny, man. This guy
And
oversaw,
30.
huh?
And Hoover, he was in there for decades.
Yeah, Hoover, and then for CIA it was Richard Helms. Is the guy we've been trying to figure out his name. Richard Helms took over right after Dulles, and he was in charge from the '60s all the way to after Nixon. So almost 15 years. I think that guy. I think George Bush replaced him. So yeah,
Right,
so,
and you can't do anything with them. If you're a congressperson on the whatever Judiciary Committee and you uncover the FBI director's corrupt, he's taking bribes, whatever, right? And then who's gonna arrest him? Who's gonna investigate him?
yeah,
The CIA director? No. The DOJ director? No. They're all corrupt. So they have the power of all law enforcement on the high level. So a congressperson who's an elected official is going to come and go. You can uncover all you want, and we're going to say no, it didn't happen, or well, there's a pending investigation going, and then you leave, and then it's over.
yeah,
We never got done with our investigation.
yeah.
It, you know,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
even if you dared guess what? We're going to have a rival agency or another agency investigate you.
Yeah, that's
And,
good. Yeah, I didn't think about as far as taking it as far as FBI and CIA.
we're going to do a smear campaign with the media, etc.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Okay, so then, oh, I like all that. Also, so 8 years
Yeah,
for
no, those are
senators
the
and
ones that you really need term limits on, because those are the ones who
for that much power. Would you think 8 years is good for CIA and FBI? I would shorten that shit. I'd go down to maybe 6 years or 5 years even. So 5 years for
yeah, it's all
CIA.
debatable, but there definitely
Yeah, yeah. I never thought about
yeah,
that.
there
So yeah,
definitely needs
that's
to
that's
be
good,
limits.
man. Okay, so then
Well,
I'm
and
with you,
that's the
man.
beauty of what's done. Man, that's what's doing all this. That's what's caused the problems we have is those people. It's not the politicians. It is the politicians, but it's those people who really have all the power.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I like that. So senators and congressmen 8 years, and then CIA and FBI is definitely debatable, but I would go as low as 6 years for these guys, 5 years. But okay, I like that, bro. That's good. Okay, let's do one more. You think we have? Okay, this should be easy. Do you think we have an overpopulation problem?
No,
No. Okay.
no. The
So
majority of the land around the world is not even being used. The overpopulation argument, I think. Well, like Elon Musk said, they did a study on population, and he says we could sustain about 3 billion more people on the planet before it becomes an overpopulation problem. So I don't think we have an overpopulation problem, but the overpopulation problem, the reason they say it is because they don't like taking care of people who are takers, like
yeah,
they don't work or they're on disability or they're old. So they want to get rid of a lot of the population because it costs money,
yeah.
and that's all it is. It's just about
Well,
money.
I wonder if for the people that
I
like
mean, you
are
have pollution.
advocating, huh?
I was just say you have pollution from people, but so
Yeah.
you might have an argument there. But
I was gonna say, yeah. So for the people that kind of advocate for this whole idea, like Bill Gates, and I saw a clip just yesterday of what the hell was Queen Elizabeth's husband's name? I forgot his name. There's an interview with him
oh
where he's saying, like, what do you think is the biggest problems that we face, and the way he phrased it was kind of funny too. It's like, oh, for me, on the level that we're kind of where he said, on the level where we're at, oh, there's just too many people. And then the interviewer asked him, so what do you think is the solution? And he grins. He's like, well, what do you think it is? Like, basically saying, yeah, we got to get rid of people. So these people think there's an overpopulation problem, but so I wonder, like in countries where they think, there's poverty, like in Africa, these countries are underdeveloped, so for them to try to use that as an excuse, look, there's so much poverty going on in these countries, but they're just underdeveloped nations, areas where if they did spend a little money and just modernize them a little bit, there wouldn't be a problem of poverty, so they create this problem by just not investing over there, like, and I guess that comes back to kind of what you're saying. If there's no real reason to invest in developing these areas, then the problem's going to continue, and they're going to continue to have the excuse, oh yeah, there's an overpopulation problem because these undeveloped countries, there's so much poverty there. But if the populations already exist, I think as human beings we have an obligation to try to help them and try to develop those countries. Not just throw money at like just food, but they got infrastructure and they got to create communities in these places. And like you said, like the pollution problem, yeah, they got to figure that out. Like waste, human waste, and stuff like that. And they got to create a system of recycling and making sure that human waste isn't polluting the earth and the water and stuff like that. So I think there's solutions in that sense. If people, if it was worth it to people to try to invest that money and just develop these nations, it wouldn't look like there's an overpopulation problem because there's so much poverty. So I think it would just take spending money and just trying to develop these areas and stuff like that.
I'm saying basically about population is that overpopulation isn't a thing because of numbers. It's a thing because the rich and elite don't want so many people on the planet who they have to take care of. It costs them money. If they weren't here, if a lot of them weren't here, they would have a lot more money and they would have a lot more of the planet to themselves.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Oh,
So when they talk about overpopulation, and they say, "Oh, people are starving," we can create way more food than everybody on the planet could eat,
yeah.
but they don't allow that and they don't give it to them because that costs money too. It's all about money. Climate change, population, any issue you talk about, you have bad people in charge, and all their motivation is money and power, which are the same.
Yeah.
So that's why they talk about overpopulation is like, you know, you don't serve a purpose to me and you cost me money.
Yeah. I just remember real quick we were kind of where we were at. I was talking about if people kind of were more receptive to the idea of marriage and having kids,
Oh, that's
responsibly.
right.
And then you had a thought about that. Like basically, I thought it'd be kind of hard. It's a long way to go, but I think it's the most righteous way to go, and it should over time deal with the population issue where we're not just having a bunch of unwanted children around the world and
Right. So
so
my point on that is like you were saying, it would be difficult to do, and I'm kind of disagreeing with that. It sounds difficult to do. I agree with that, but if you really think about it, if you had the same people who are in charge talking about marriage as like a union that's a good thing between you and God, right? Then you're only gonna have babies with your wife or your husband. You as a couple, you're
yeah,
not gonna have multiple babies with multiple partners. You're gonna live a life that's a lot cleaner. You're not gonna be so inclined to be involved in drugs or alcoholism or gangs or crime.
yeah,
But when you have politicians talking about how marriage isn't important and we don't need God, then you have people having babies with multiple people they can't take care of or they don't care about because there's no real connection there other than we had sex. Then those people, their lives, their upbringing is not good because the family unit's not intact, and they a lot of times end up in drugs, crime, etc. So now they become a burden to the state, where you have to pay for them in their rehab, or you have to pay for their incarceration and things like that. So yeah, they don't want this overpopulation of people who are doing these sorts of things. But if they were promoting population to live a cleaner life through God, you wouldn't have the problems that they have, and they wouldn't be costing you money. They'd be making you money.
yeah,
But they don't want to give in to God. They're like, no, I'm my own God. So
yeah,
that's really, I think, the problem. It always comes back to God. He's in charge. A lot of people don't agree with that, but it doesn't matter if they agree or not. It is what it is,
yeah,
um, and they'll find out one way or the other.
yeah,
Hopefully, the good way.
yeah, really. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, no, I'm with that. I mean, yeah, obviously people are a little bit more receptive to to religion and Christianity and whatever their faith is. I
Well,
think
that's the basis of
I think
marriage.
each faith kind of promotes the idea of family. So
Right. And that's the basis of marriage. Without faith, you don't have a basis for marriage, right? That's why they want to do gay marriage and all these other things, because they're trying to break down the biblical marriage. They're trying to get rid of God.
yeah,
Let's have gay marriage, whatever, all these different sorts of things. And they're trying to remove God from marriage. And the result is you have populations who are living lives that are destructive and counterproductive, and that costs them money because now you have to feed these people who don't work or they're incarcerated or whatever may be going on.
yeah,
But if they actually promoted marriage through God, same-sex couple, you stay together, and you raise one family,
yeah,
then that would actually create more tax dollars for these governments, and these people would actually. It's funny because it'd actually be lucrative to them, but they can't bring themselves to believe in there's something more powerful than themselves.
yeah, yeah. No,
It's
exactly,
ego.
man. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So I mean, there's a way to address it. So a way to deal with this issue, but yeah, it's just one of the issues, I guess. So, all right, then, Dan. So I think that was good, bro. I think we did a few more questions. I think over time, maybe go back to kind of how we were doing it, and just come back to maybe a couple of questions per episode, Because yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think getting over, we still have 15 more, so
Oh, okay.
it's gonna take a 4 hour show to get through them. I think because I think we both have a bunch of ideas, but I'm glad, Dan, that at least we both agree on all this stuff, man. We're both kind of the same common sense approaches to these things. So
Yeah, it really is just common sense and getting rid of your bias and thinking logically, getting rid of the emotion,
yeah,
and doing the right thing. What's best for everybody, not
yeah,
just about you.
yeah, exactly, man. So then, all right then, Dan. Well then, another good show, my brother. A few technical
Yeah, yeah.
issues, but we're good. We're good. So
Next week, 9/11 or what?
yeah, you with it?
Yeah, let's do 9/11 next week, and then we can get questions after that.
All right, cool. That works for me, bro. So,
All
all
right.
right then, Dan. Well, have a good day.
Yeah, you too, brother.
You're headed to work right now.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, have a good one over
Got to
there,
go
bro.
pay the
Yeah, exactly,
government to
man.
protest me.
Yeah, but all right, my brother. Then we'll talk after. Cool.
All right, take it.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
bro. Bye.